Hey, everybody. Today, I'm asking if you like the show, would you head over to iTunes and leave a review? Just go to coolcatteacher.com/iTunes, and it will take you to the show on iTunes. And you can give it stars, or even better, if you leave a rating. It really does make a difference, and it helps other teachers find the show. Thanks. Teacher-Driven Curriculum Design, Episode 319. The 10-Minute Teacher Podcast with Vicki Davis. Every weekday, you'll learn powerful, practical ways to be a more remarkable teacher today. Teachers, don't you wish that curriculum design would involve you? Well, our guest today, Dr. Stephen Weber, has involved 65 teachers in redesigning the curriculum for math in his district. Stephen, tell us about what you've done and what your vision is for this.
We started with teachers and we identified math as the first area, and we went to our board and we said we'd like to have a curriculum review cycle. So in that curriculum review cycle, math came first. So this past school year, we spent the past 12 months with 65 pre-K through high school teachers, and we unpacked the standards. A good place to start is unpacking the standards, and after we unpacked the standards, we identified key skills and key concepts that every student should know and be able to do in each grade level. Then there were vertical conversations about geometry, algebra, and about student understanding, and throughout those vertical conversations, the teams continued to unpack the standards and align the local curriculum to the state standards. But most importantly, we started with National Council of Teachers of Mathematics, and NCTM has a document that outlines what is an excellent math program. So we went from assessment to materials and on through the curriculum, and we identified those things. Then we had a conversation with the 65 teachers about whether or not we had an excellent math program and what we needed to do to get there. So I would say you still have a long ways after you create a written curriculum to implement the curriculum, but we feel like we've closed some of our gaps in the written curriculum, and we feel like we're moving towards, or our goal is to continue striving for an excellent math program.
So what was your reason for including all of these teachers? And of course, as a teacher, I applaud you, but it's a challenge because teachers are busy.
We have 16 schools in our district, not including our pre-K program. And out of the 16 schools, if you only had one teacher represented, that would give you 16 teachers. So we felt like 16 teachers wouldn't be enough because a fourth grade teacher can't really represent the kindergarten program. So we had teachers represented from each of the grade levels. And I'm not going to say we had a K-4 teacher from every school, but we had good representation. So you would have had 5 or 6 fourth grade teachers meeting and discussing the curriculum. And then there are 5 or 6 fifth grade teachers at the middle school level. So there are vertical conversations. And the identification of the teachers came from principal recommendations. So to be on the committee was an honor because your principal recommended you.
So what was the feedback you've gotten from the teachers about these meetings?
In the beginning, people said things like, I'm not a district curriculum writer. Why can't we just buy the curriculum? Or people said, I'm good with my grade level, but I don't know if what I do inside my classroom should be what they do at a school across town. And what we found out over time is that people found out they really are experts. Teacher leaders are experts. So an 8th grade teacher is an expert, a 4th grade teacher is an expert, and they're really good at what they do. And we found out that over time, these teachers emerged. So we gave them a platform as leaders, and they stepped up to the plate. But your question is, what are they saying? We're hearing things like this curriculum gives me hope as a teacher. This curriculum is my legacy. This helps me set the stage for first-year teachers in a way that I never had. Another teacher said, when I was a first-year teacher 16 years ago, they gave me keys to my classroom, a teacher's guide, and a grade book. No one told me what to teach. So I don't think it's a scripted curriculum by any means. Teachers still have autonomy, but teachers feel like they had a voice and choice, just like we want to give students a voice and choice.
I love the words, this gives me hope, and this gives me a legacy.
Certainly. I think it makes it worth coming to work when you feel like you have added value to the profession.
And how does it make you feel, Stephen, when you get that kind of feedback?
It makes me feel proud as a leader because we've invested a lot in the teacher leaders. We recognize that they were leaders, and then we listen to their voice, and it makes me proud to represent them recently at our board meeting and stand before the board and present something that 65 teacher leaders work together across 16 schools. It makes me proud.
You know, a lot of administrators would really raise their eyebrows at these numbers. I mean, have you seen other districts involve so many teachers in rewriting the curriculum?
I have not personally. I'm sure it happens in other states, but part of the reason is a financial reason. Your board has to invest in teacher leaders and believe that the work can be done. And another reason is some people put that money in textbooks. I still hear a lot of school districts who feel like the textbook is the curriculum. So a lot of districts, I think, they have state standards or national standards, and they have a textbook, and that's good enough. But really, the process is more important than the product. So we're really proud of the product that we've created, and our board is currently reviewing for approval. But we feel like that process and those conversations were worth the investment in the substitutes that we paid and the time we paid stipends last summer.
Well, you have the curriculum, but then you also are having these conversations. For example, you know, a teacher in 7th grade may say, these kids are coming to me and I don't feel like they know blank. And, you know, there's things on paper and then there's things in practice. And what's on paper and what's going on in practice in a school district is not the same thing. Would you agree with that?
Yes.
So this, in some ways, is not just an investment in curriculum, it's an investment in conversation.
It's very much an investment in the profession. It's an investment in teachers. And recently, Tom Murray and Eric Schenniger, who I'm sure you know, they're talking in their book about return on instruction. So as business, they say ROI, and the ROI in education is return on instruction. So when we implement the curriculum, we'll have to ask, is there an ROI? And if there's not, then that's when RTI, response to intervention, and other support and academic interventions come in. But it's very difficult if a district doesn't have a guaranteed curriculum or a written curriculum. It's very difficult to stop and say, here are the scaffolds or here are the academic interventions we need, because every teacher closes their door and teaches whatever they're comfortable with.
Stephen, did you make any mistakes at the beginning that if another person follows this model that will save them time if they don't make those mistakes?
We certainly made mistakes, and when we move into science next year, we'll try to avoid those mistakes. One of the mistakes we made in the beginning was trying to write transfer goals, and we tried to write a transfer goal for math for every single unit. And recently I was talking with Jay McTighe and told him I tried to use your model, and transfer goals just didn't work very well for me. And he said that the transfer skills or the transfer goals for math should probably be 8 to 10 overarching transfer goals all the way from K through 12. So I was trying to ask teachers to do something that's difficult to do. I mean, the standards already have broken down what teachers should teach, and we were trying to break that down some more. A second thing that we made the mistake of was assuming that teachers knew the 8 mathematical practices outlined in the standards for math. Even though you have your best teachers, sometimes teachers haven't really dug deep into the standards. So having teachers write about the 8 mathematical practices is difficult if they don't have a deep understanding.
So really not getting too detailed and kind of looking at the overarching issues, but also making sure they do understand the effective best practices and can speak the language, I guess, in some ways.
Right. The more teachers you involve, the harder it is. So back to your question about the number of teachers involved, most school districts will hire 2 or 3 of the best teachers or one of the best teachers, and they'll work in an office for a year or two writing a district curriculum. So you can certainly get a tight curriculum and a guaranteed curriculum from that process, but you don't have the conversation and the professional job embedded learning that takes place with 65 teachers.
Well, it's fantastic. And Stephen, as we finish up, so you've done the presentation, you're presenting this to the district, you're moving forward, hopefully, with implementation. Are there any teachers who are excited about implementation?
Every teacher we know is excited about implementation, including those who weren't on the committee, because they feel like they're implementing a curriculum written by Fayetteville Public Schools teachers for Fayetteville Public School teachers. So there's buy-in because the people who were chosen are teacher leaders in their building. And because they're leaders, they're going to have a ripple effect on the teachers throughout the school and district. But we're very excited about the written curriculum, and we're looking forward to see that impact on student achievement. And I think along the way, we may have multiplied a few teacher leaders. So some people who started off not being a teacher leader, but they were nominated by their principal, now they've been given a platform in the school district, and people respect them even more because of what they've contributed to the profession.
This is so fantastic. And teachers, this is one of those podcast episodes to forward to your district administrators, your curriculum directors. And I love that teachers are excited about implementation because, it's one thing to write, but getting adoption, getting implementation is where the rubber meets the road. That's where we implement and we impact classrooms. That's where we make the experience of learning more remarkable, and we level up what we're teaching. And I think this is a fantastic model that all school districts should take a look at to understand how we can involve teachers in curriculum design and also understand the side impacts that may not be as obvious, the conversations that happen, the on-the-job training that happens, the professional development that happens that's part of the process, and that this is really what we want our students to be doing too. We want them to be collaborating and working together and understanding these concepts. So this is fantastic. Thank you, Stephen.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show.
As I said before the show started, it really does help if you leave a review. So if you go to coolcatteacher.com/iTunes and leave a review, I really do appreciate it. And I also appreciate it when you tell your friends. One tip, a lot of people don't know that if you go to the show notes for any of these episodes, so today is episode 254. So you would go to coolcatteacher.com/E254. And you can go to the show notes. But if you look at the little player that I've embedded, there are two little brackets. And if you click that, you can actually embed any show you want on your own blog, your own website. You can share the links to those and just share it far and wide. You can even download a copy of the show if you want to send it to others. So I've put it out there for you, and I hope it's useful. Thank you for listening to the 10-Minute Teacher Podcast. You can download the show notes and see the archive at coolcatteacher.com/podcast. Never stop learning.